With me today is Hunter McIntyre. He is the 6-time world champion, 4-time national champion in obstacle course racing. And recently, as I understand, you broke the Murph Challenge record. So that's pretty amazing.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was a daunting task, but it was a necessary one. To be honest, I'm not a big believer in letting the world dictate what you're going to do with your day. So as our circumstances arose with the whole COVID thing, I just said, I've got nothing to do right now. I'm not going to make that my reason to sit on the couch. I'm going to get the heck up and create something to do. So I looked at the whole calendar and I said, there's an opportunity right here. Let's go full on in. And I'm still recovering from it. It was exhausting.
Are you really? When did you officially do that? I mean, as of today, the 28th or something of September?
Almost exactly 4 months ago. So September, August, July, June, and into May. So yeah, 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was May 23rd. I think we did it. It's Memorial Day. And it's kind of like the iconic day where everyone's kind of coming together. Murph's become universal workouts here because there weren't any athletic events. So people really took advantage of, hey, we might as well just really train on this.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned, you didn't have anything on the schedule. Was it because of the COVID? So you were like, I need something to go after, or?
Yeah, basically. Within the month of March alone, I was supposed to be in Dubai and then Germany. And literally, I flew into New York City to surprise my dad for his 65th birthday on March 10th. And then on March 11th, I was sitting in a gym on Chelsea Pier, and my friend got a message from somebody who worked for CNN, I think, and was like, hey, man, you should be careful. I think they're about to lock down New York City. And I was like, he told me that, and I was like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, yo, you didn't hear about this COVID thing? And I was like, what COVID thing? And like everybody had heard about something going on over in China, and it was like, boom, like it was like vertical travel of like the cases going up, not like a gradual line. It was, I was like, oh my gosh. So I showed up at dinner to surprise my dad, and nobody in the family was there except for my brother and I. We had like 12 people invited to this dinner. And I was like, what the hell's going on? I started texting people. They're like, dude, you got to get out of the city. Things are about to go down. So I booked a ticket that night and left. And from that point on, it was just like domino effect. Every event canceled, every birthday party canceled, every house, and was completely locked into the idea of training for something new.
That's like the epicenter of like where everything went down.
Yep. And half my family are doctors. So, 2 of them were inside. One was in a hospital. 2 of them were in a hospital in Long Island. 2 of them were in a hospital in New York City, the Cornell Medical Hospital. And it was just like body bags. And I lived in Boulder and between there and Malibu. And it was a very different experience where I didn't even know anybody was getting COVID. I never even heard of it, saw it. It was kind of like this mythical creature that was hiding underneath the bed.
Sure.
And different experience. I think it's very hard for people to hear this. I treated my COVID experience very different than they did, but it was sad to hear. Like when I went home and visited for 4th of July, it was as if like people had just gone through the like the whole atomic bomb effect. Like people were still hiding in their homes.
Yeah.
They were like, Hunter, when I came home to see my family, we were like picnic tables with a cross. When we saw each other, they wouldn't even hug me. Weird.
Wow. Yeah. It's definitely been an interesting time. And my family's up in New Jersey. So they were right there. That's where I'm from. And I've got family up in Long Island too. And then I have a cousin in Boston who's in the medical field. So it was like just definitely a different world. Been fortunate. I'm in Virginia outside of DC. But yeah, you adapt. And, speaking of the challenge, like, is that how you roll when it comes to like races? Did you feel like, I need something to chase after or go after, or are you just personally driven to kind of just be fit and stay active?
I had a kind of a reverse, based experience of being an athlete. I was very talented when I was younger, and I ended up doing a lot of drinking, drugging, getting arrested when I was a young guy. And basically, I didn't care about sports at all when I was younger. So then eventually I had kind of been arrested enough times, kicked out of enough schools. I'd gone to rehab for a year, and when I got out, no colleges wanted me, and when I got into college, nobody on the team wanted me. My coach thought I was a douche. All the kids on my team treated me badly.
Wow.
Not like I was. I'm not trying to complain. It's just I had a reputation that was not worth their time. And I just said, screw this. I was like, I'm all in. Like I'm more talented than these kids, and people putting me down because of shit that I did in my past. I was like, I'm going to change this from this future point on. No one's ever going to give me a reason not to be in the room or sit at the table because of my athletic talents. Like I'm going to be the biggest and best. So from that point on, I just started doing all the research, reading all the books, watching all the documentaries, like back when there was much more limited information than there is now. And eventually I got to the point where I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I started to go out and go to active.com and start picking races that I could afford. And when I say afford, I mean like, $30 to $50 races. And I'd show up and I'd beat everybody. And I was like, all right, I could do it. I started winning. I was like, I could do better than this. And then all of a sudden I showed up to one race where there was a cash prize. And I took 6th place out of like 10,000 people. I was like, wait a second. I was like, I could have a job at this. So
that was kind of the epiphany moment.
I told everybody. Yeah. I told everybody, I was like, I'm going to be the best racer in the entire world. I'm going to be a world champion. And at that time, there wasn't really that didn't exist. It was happening, but it wasn't like what it is now. Like back in the day, I remember when Instagram popped up, my girlfriend had it, and she showed me this grid of her pictures. And I was like, what makes you think people want to see your pictures, you weirdo?
Right.
It's being so self-absorbed. I was like, just keep your stuff to yourself. Keep it in your iPhone. She's like, no, it's really cool. You share it. I laughed at her. Now look what Instagram is. I have it. You have it. Everybody has it. Same exact thing back then. I was like, I think mud running's the best sport in the world. Like I'm going to be
So what year was this?
First one I did in 2011, first professional one in 2012, and I had a pro contract. Like when I did the first one in 2011, I did it, and then I retreated. And I came home, I moved back to New York, and I kind of got an apartment for a second, and I started thinking, and I was like, man, could this really work? I started living on my brother's couch for a second. I was trying to model a little bit, and I was like, God, I don't like this. I don't like this. I was like, that felt so right. So I just packed my bags and moved back to California. And within 6 months moving back to California, I had a pro contract. So it was like, boom, it hit fast.
Nice.
And, that's where we're at now. Obviously, I remember, not to brag, but like when I first moved to California, I didn't own a car. I owned a bicycle. I had no direction in my life. I didn't have a dollar to my name. I was basically trying to personal train. I would take an hour-long bus after an hour-long bike ride into the city to teach 2 spin classes to come back. And now I'm at the point where I've done this for so long that I own 3 cars, and I work all day long, and I travel around the world. So it was like I planted that seed and I watered it every single day to the point where it is now.
Well, I don't think it's bragging. I think it just shows the demarcation and the progression over time that, like you said, you have a vision for your life. What would you say is like an important aspect that kind of fueled that drive or pursuit? Was it kind of real?
It's just passion and purpose, man. I mean, I had this conversation with my girlfriend yesterday, and I don't think she liked it, to be honest. But I'll just give everybody a rude reality. She's a very, very talented athlete, and she's like, I don't know what to do. There's nothing out there right now. I just don't know what to do. And I was like, well, what are your 3 biggest goals? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, you know what? There's nothing out there for me right now. And I'm training as if I get the call that I could go anywhere and I could beat anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm literally training for like 2 things right now that I know that if I got the call that I would be the best in the world at. And I just said, that's the thing. Like if anybody's listening to this thing right now, it's like, you can't be a part-time influencer, a part-time car salesman, a part-time bodybuilder, a part-time professional runner, part-time like small business owner. It's like, I know so many people who are trying to do so many different things at once. And I don't think it's a bad idea to test out the waters on a lot of things.
Yep.
But eventually you need to pony up, pick one thing and do it better than everybody else. And you may not be the best in the world at it, but be the best that you can be at it.
Yeah.
And that's how I treated it.
Well, yeah, no, I think that I completely concur, and I can relate to kind of the wanderlust of all that, and then finding that kind of purpose and passion. Yeah, there's only so many hours in the day, and it may be a good idea, but it may not be the right idea for you.
Sure.
But so tell me a little bit more about like the pivot. So in the last, what was it, year or so, you started to pivot to CrossFit.
Yep.
What drove that? What was that whole scenario that developed?
Well, it's kind of a mixture of two things. I had rolled my ankle and tore it so badly twice within like an 8-week period that I could not really run anymore. And I had just won a world title on like basically a broken ankle, just duct taped to as hard as I could and with a bunch of Advil. And I was like, gosh, I don't think I can run for a while. I need to relax. I was like, I got to figure something out. And in that same weekend at that title, I competed against a bunch of these CrossFit guys and I beat them all like really badly. And at the end of it, I was checking online and I was looking at some things and I posted my picture and I was like, gosh, like we did it. The team did it. I was like, congrats to everybody who helped supported me, my sponsors, everything. I was like, we made it. And I look at the comments and people are like, you're just lucky they competed against you in that event. You could never beat them. And I was like, what? I was like, I just spanked these guys. There's a very good chunk of it. And CrossFitters consider themselves to be the fittest athletes on earth. And listen, rather than me being one of those, just little sit back couch haters, I was like, you know what? I'll just show up and compete against you guys and you can prove it to me if you're better than me. Right. So rather than sit there and talk trash and throw stones, I just said, I'm going to start training and I'm going to show up in their backyard and I'm going to compete against them. And if they're better than me, they can show it to me rather than telling me about it. So I just started training. I started training really, really hard. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to qualify the traditional route because it's a very tough and also very complicated sport in a very talented field. Yeah. I didn't have enough experience to step in at their level immediately. So basically I found out this rule inside of the whole rule book and someone sent me it and they're like, they're inviting 4 athletes outside of the sport to see what it's like to have other champions go up against their champions. And I was like, well,
nice.
Look what we have here. And no one paid attention to it except for me. I was like, well, I'm just going to play by the rule book that they printed out. It's like, that's in permanent ink. Like you cannot fake this.
Yeah.
So I just started campaigning. I got one of my sponsors behind me and I started traveling the world and going to meet with all the best athletes and campaigning for votes. And I made the whole thing up.
Right.
And eventually we got so much momentum that the CEO eventually, announced it on an interview that he was going to have his team reach out to me. And like literally within, 10 days of that video, I had an email that they wanted to invite me to the games.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a very, very interesting experience. I'm so proud of the fact that we were able to do it, and I'm so appreciative of the fact that they were able to invite me. Admittedly, I'm a little bit burnt because it was the first ever year that they had implemented cuts. Usually you compete for a whole week straight over 15 events and see who's the fittest person.
Okay.
Now they basically, if you failed a workout and you weren't in the top 50% of that workout, you got kicked out. So I did very well in the first workout. I was top 25%, almost top 10%. And the next one, I was back 25%. And I just went, boom, snapped out like that. And I was like, darn it. So I was there and I shined for a second, but then the clouds came in and they basically shut me down.
So what was the lesson that you learned out of that between, doing the OCR stuff and then pivoting to CrossFit? Was there a takeaway or a key difference?
Just it harped more on the original note that I gave to you. It's like you just pick one thing and you do it better than everybody else. Just train it. The odd thing is that I went to go do their sport, and instead of training the way that I did that made me a really good champion, I started to do what they did. And that was my biggest mistake. To be honest, I think I would have done much better when I showed up. because I started to give up on what I thought was the answer, because I was like, if they're really good at it, I got to start doing what they do.
Sure.
I was wrong, to be honest. I mean, it may work for them, but to be honest, like I have all these books and all these certifications, and I had 9 years of professional competing, and I turned my back on everything that I knew to listen to them. And I don't think the lesson of this is don't listen to people who are better than you at something, but don't ignore the truth that you already know to yourself. So I wish that I had just kind of stuck to my guns a little bit more. I wish that I had focused on what made me shine. Like I didn't want to go in unprepared. I had to practice some of the skills that were inside of their event, but I could have done way better, I believe, if I had just used kind of like my core principles of training.
Well, because I was going to ask, because there's slightly different, it's similar strength, functional strength, but there's a lot more technical, it seems, on the CrossFit piece. You still need to do that. But it sounds like the NFL with the prevent defense. It's like when the teams are kicking the other team's tail and all of a sudden they change the way they were winning the game, and then the other team starts to creep back in.
Yeah.
It kind of seems a little bit of that.
Yeah, I mean, I had my methods, and here's the reality. Like, I think that's when it's what really proves the greatest and strongest people in the entire world. When the pressure's on you, do you puff up your chest and brace and get ready for the hit, or do you buckle and try to change and conform to the situation? I think you have to have a little bit of both. I think I conform too much, though. So yeah, I don't know. I came back out of this last year, and I went straight back to my technique, and my style, my focus, my everything, and I haven't lost a race since. I've literally done 5 or 6 events, and I've been undefeated since. So I'm back at it. I'm focused. I'm happy. If I get the call to go again, I'm going to crush them.
So do you think you're going to pursue CrossFit again, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I already got an invite to go to another event that would qualify me for that one. Okay. So I was preparing for it, but then COVID shut it down. It was called the Asbury Park Games in June. Obviously at that point, everything had basically been shut down. So
in New Jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the area I grew up in.
There you go, dude. It's a sweet spot. So I was very excited about that. And now I'm just at the point where I'm focused, I'm waiting, and I'm ready to strike. So I'm waiting for the call.
Yeah, preparation is key. It's something, and you said it earlier, is like you're ready if the race is called tomorrow. And that's a key ingredient, I think, to success that I myself have probably been guilty of, but others listening maybe is, we wait until somebody tells us the game is on, and then we start preparing. And at that point, it, ship sailed practically.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I recognize is there's a certain level of intensity that you can hold all year round. And then there's this peak level of intensity where you could push yourself for like a month to 6 weeks, and it's going to get you in super good shape. But if you keep near that, you just start to fall apart. It's just kind of like, it's just like running the gas on a car. Like if I floored my car, the gas mileage goes down really fast. And then to be able to fill that tank back up again and bring it back down, it's like, it's just not smart. You got to hold it at a rev limiter that's just right, that's going to keep you as fit for as long as possible.
So how do you integrate that into your programming or with your coaching? You're kind of speaking to the recovery piece and the rest elements of, like, it's often seems like, anyway, it did for me, a missing ingredient in a training regimen. So how do you include that kind of active or just straight rest into the program?
I've added like true rest days. Like today's my rest day. Usually is Sundays. So usually I have like a very light day and a true rest day. So today's a true rest day. And it's like, as much as I want to go do stuff, like literally my gym, like the nicest training center in all of Malibu and maybe even all of Los Angeles, is literally 50 feet over there. And the reality is like, I recognize that it makes me more hungry to go into the gym tomorrow by skipping a full day, but also allows my body to relax. Like, it's so crazy. I never thought rest days were necessary because it's like that no pain, no gain thing.
Right.
And I'm not there's so many of these books right here that tell you how important sleep is. If you're waking up in the morning and you're waking up with like your male parts, your libido is running well, your bags are not under your eyes, like you feel like you're moving at your typical pace, I'm good to go. I'm not reading books and having books tell me how my body feels. I'm allowing my own central compass to tell me.
Yeah. That
It's pretty
circadian
easy.
rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think, sure, scientists have a lot of like, metrics and blah, 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 captured information. But in reality, like those experiments are so limited, and so often they don't apply to people like myself, which are the highest level of athletes. And I'm not trying to tell people who are listening to this that science is bullshit. I'm just saying that it's like, there's a reason why I'm as good as I am. You should know something about yourself. You should have a level of confidence within yourself. And everybody who's listening should have a level of confidence in themselves. Like, just be able to take it easy and be able to work hard. And if it's supposed to be an easy day, like, and you feel good, go for it. Just freaking go for it. It doesn't matter. Like, your body it will tell you what it needs and what it wants. Like, I even got to the point where I have heart rate monitors. I would do the HRV.
Yeah.
You stick every single morning. I worked with this coach. I moved to Sun Valley, Idaho, and worked there for 6 weeks with this guy who used to train guys going to the Olympics for Nordic skiing. And he'd put a pad on my head. He put a heart rate monitor on me, and he put a pad on my hand. And I'd lay down there for 5 minutes every single morning after weighing myself in. And I literally did that working with him. I kept the equipment and I used it. The reality is, dude, it's like your body has this rhythm. Every single day, the thing, it hit the exact numbers. It would be red, then it'd be yellow, then it'd be green for 2 days. Red, yellow, green for 2 days. And I was like, I found my rhythm. I know it.
Yeah.
But
And then
some people may need that kind of information.
that self-awareness is the key element to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I know I'm there now.
do you use anything that kind of help with the recovery process, or
I honestly don't use anything other than supplements, aminos, creatine, and CBD. That's it. Like, literally, I've done all the research. I used to buy everything.
yeah.
And it's just, one, it gets expensive. Two, it gets exhausting to have this like knick-knack bag. In reality, like, creatine's a daily thing. Aminos are a daily thing. CBD, I use probably like 3 weeks. Yesterday, I biked and I tried to hit as hard of a bike ride as possible in 90 minutes just to see what I was made of. And after I'm done, like, my legs were throbbing so much, I laid down and like, it was almost like hot, like touching a hot pan. Like, it was just so inflamed and sensitive from working that hard. There's only a couple things that you can do to bring it down. And it's like, you get an ice bath, you put on CBD, you put on any of that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's a pretty limited number. Like, I have all of the tools, but there's only a few things that work and are like repeatable. Yeah. That's basically my formula.
Yeah. So for the next kind of season, what are you preparing for right now? I know you said you're preparing for anything, but you've got the OCR Stars coming up. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, basically everything got canceled, and it was not like 1, 2, 3. It was like this kind of like slow burn. It didn't happen all at once. That was the worst part about it. Yeah. It was like, I kept on getting a phone call after phone call. I was like, all right, this one got canceled. I was like, I'll go to this one. 2 weeks later, 2 months later, this one got canceled. Okay, I'll go to the next one. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I know I see the writing on the wall, and I'm trying not to admit it to myself. It's like, the whole year is done.
Yep.
And I basically said, I'm tired of this. Like, I have the opportunity. I have the focus. I was like, I can change the outlook of the year. So I was riding my bike one day with a couple friends. We decided to go for like 100-mile bike ride. And I was sitting there, and one of my friends was like, dude, you should just do something. And I was like, okay. So I call all my friends in my phone book who are part of my kind of like my work tribe. And I was like, if we raise some money, can we put together an athletic event in November? So I did all the research to find out when there were no other athletic events. Like, there's no Super Bowls. There was no nothing going to contend with us trying to put on a month-long event. And it was November. November seemed to be this perfect month other than the election. And I just basically, I raised a bunch of money. I contacted a bunch of sponsors. I contacted a bunch of athletes. I was like, I'm going to put on a 4-week-long event, very much like the CrossFit Open, which is like basically an online virtual event where every single week a workout's released and you have all week to submit it. And then your scores get put in a database and then you get ranked. I was like, nothing's ever been done like this for endurance sports.
Yeah.
I want to test to see who are the fittest endurance athletes in the world. I want us to be separate from CrossFit, but similar. CrossFit is great. They test levels of fitness. They test a different kind of fitness than what we want. We want to be able to find the athlete who can run, who can endure, who's got great coordination, great grip strength, great grit, great like conditioning, everything across the board without having to do ring muscle ups and snatches of like 400 pounds overhead.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the guy or girl who can just move. And so we built the thing, and I wanted to call it, I wanted to feel like almost like American Idol, I wanted to feel like I want to know the heroes that already exist, but I want to see the unseen heroes.
Yeah.
The people to come out of the woodwork and show me really what they're made of. And I don't want it to be just the pros. I want it to be for the age groupers. I want it to be for the average Joes. I wanted everyone to be able to do something and be like, you know what? I did something this year.
Yeah, just after it.
Yeah, I did something this year. You know what? Everyone canceled everything, but you know what? For the month of November, I got after it. I signed up for something. I held myself accountable, and I was on the grind. So that's what we did. We put it together, and now we're 5 weeks from going out. We have a tremendous amount of, signups. We have a tremendous amount of sponsorships behind us. I'm literally on podcasts like this. All the time. Like I fly to San Jose for Mind Pump in 2 days.
Oh, it's cool.
I'm just spreading the word everywhere to make sure that people know about this. Because if we do it well and we get 10,000 signups, we'll give away more money that's ever been given away in history in our sport, or I think online virtual events either.
That's awesome. I'm excited to be a part of it, and just appreciate you willing to join the podcast here and be able to share on that. And then sidebar, I just signed up. I roped in a couple buddies. So that's what I like to hear, baby. Team. So, and I just started CrossFit myself, literally like 2 weeks ago. So we'll be prepared. I got 5 weeks to get ready. So
there you go. Here's the thing. What I tell everybody who's said like, I don't know, I'm like, well, here's the thing. You don't have to know. I want you to just show up. Our motto is sign up, show us what you're made of. And if you'll learn something about yourself, and you may knock it out of the park, or you may be like, you know what, I got something to work on. And right when you get done with the thing, you can go back to the gym, or you can start running outside and be like, I've got some goals now.
Yeah. Let it be a catalyst. I think, too often, kind of like we were saying, if there's a lesson out of this COVID thing, it's just anything is possible. And so live for today, not the, what is it? YOLO. You only live once.
YOLO.
I mean, not to be completely unreasonable, but be somewhat unreasonable with your vision and goals, and just get out there and do it.
Yeah, I love that. That's my style. Never quit, never surrender.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, I appreciate the time. We're kind of getting up on, the time allotted here. I usually try to close it out with a couple of personal questions, if you don't mind.
Love personal questions. Deep
all right. So what are you reading right now? And Audible counts, because that's the only way I ever consume books.
I'm slowly chipping away at the book called Virtues of War. It's about Alexander the Great's mission, kind of sweeping across the lands, killing people.
Cool.
It's great. It is probably I don't know why I picked it up right now, but I think it's the best book that I can have right now, because it's a level of intensity and intention that I needed to have back in my life. Because to be totally honest, I don't mean to put negative energy out there, but right now I feel like people have used this time in our lives, instead of rising to the occasion, they're using it as a time to make excuses for everything. They show up late. They don't show up at all. They don't call you back. They don't follow through. They're just allowing this pandemic weird time in our lives to just allow them to kind of recede.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in this book, it just talks about just absolute intention, focus, and die hard to the code action.
Love it.
And I was like, I'm just standing up, and I was like, you know what? Just because my friends didn't show up like they said they were does not mean that this mission's done. I was like, I'm sticking it through. I'm marching on. And I just love it. It was a different time. It was different people. And it was just like the way that they held themselves behind their word and their code is a totally different experience. And I love that.
Yeah. The virtue and just the integrity. It just seems like it was a totally different generation that we need to kind of resuscitate for sure.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Buy the book. It's spectacular.
Nice. I will definitely do that. What are you listening to right now, be it music or podcast?
To be honest, the only podcast I really listen to is The Running Public. It's my friend Bracken Cracker and Kirk DeWintz, because I'm really trying to get my running back up. And just like it's nice to listen to them talk about running with other great runners, and it makes my runs feel more exciting. And then there's the typical Joe Rogan podcast, just because, I mean, I love Howard Stern, but he's becoming the new Howard Stern, where he can get almost anybody in the world on his podcast. Howard Stern, like, it was great for him. I know it sounds silly, but he talks one day to a porn star and the next day to a politician. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Learning so much. Like, there's such a huge spectrum here. Like, I may not be interested in both of these conversations, but at least I can tune in if I want to.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Joe Rogan is like taking over the universe, it seems like, when it comes to podcasting. He's just like on a whole totally different solar system.
Well, dude, he's got that basically like the gravitational pull, dude. He's amassed so much energy that people come to him because he's more powerful almost than them, because he's got such an audience.
Yeah. A lot to learn from, for sure. What is your go-to rest and recovery method?
Food and chilling out. I think if your heart rate's even 5 beats above where it usually is, like with stress or anything, it wrecks you. It just wrecks you. It's like, you should be below idle all day long, but if you're just revving just a little bit above idle, you can tell that you're working too hard. So I just chill out, when it's time, just relax.
Nice.
Yeah.
It seems like you're in Malibu, you said?
Malibu's the best, baby. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. It probably doesn't hurt to be there. So, Hunter, man, appreciate it. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but grateful for the time. And
of course,
look forward to November and participating.
Thank you so much for signing up and supporting, man, and letting me just kind of sit here and gab about what we're doing. Honestly, if anybody's listening to this, here's the reality. If you're a lover of fitness or just adventure, I appreciate if you signed up and participated. And if you're just a lover of fitness and adventure and you want to see other people have the opportunity to be able to continue to do that, you can just sign up to support, almost like a donation. Because what we're doing is we're taking this money and we're pushing it down the pipeline to people that need it to keep on pursuing their dreams. And like, I've been afforded great opportunities to travel the world, as I said, and live this sport and this lifestyle for a long time because people believed in me.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to push that energy to the next person on.
Well, I love that pay it forward mentality, and you're in a position of influence that, and kind of related to the book. I mean, you're doing the right thing with it, where some people just burn it on the wrong stuff, and you're trying to build up, especially again around this COVID thing. I mean, you're focused on fitness and health and wellness, and we need more of it. We've got this strange dichotomy in America of like some of the fittest and also some of the most chronic diseased out there. So it's like, get out there and get after it. That's awesome.
Well, that's what we're going to do, baby. Thank you so much for your time. Anybody listening, thank you again.
Thanks.
Yep.